This might be a simple decision to make when you start your solo RPG session, but it can really make or break the experience. Let me explain. When you first think of the setting, fantasy or something like that, you want to decide how much effort you want to put into the party, the team. If you want one character, the lone wolf approach, then you can focus more on that character's story, their outings, their adventure, their growth, and even their backstory. All while handling the game rules, the dice rolling, and the NPCs and the world building. So I'd say one character is a great approach and probably recommended for solo play. It's less of a burden. You have the potential to focus a lot of effort on that one character. On the other side, you have a party. You've got two or more characters that you have to handle. Things can get a little complicated, but don't let that discourage you from trying it. Now, with two, probably a bit more effort than one, obviously. 3, 4, 5, 6, that will take more time. That will take more focus. But there are probably players out there, solo players, who don't mind that. I, for one, have done both. Personally, I prefer one character. Kind of a hypocrite here because in my current recent videos, I've had groups. But down, I prefer the lone wolf. I prefer to have the one character. So for group play, when you have, let's say, the typical 4, each one covering a class, you would have advantage for approaching situations because you would have a magic character, you would have a thief, you would have a fighter, you would have a ranger, etc. You have different classes, you can handle different situations from different vantage points. But then you have all of that weight to carry, that metaphorical weight, because you're world building around your party. It also depends on how much you want to focus in on those characters. Do you want to give them a chemistry? Do you want to give them entanglement? Do you want them to have backstories? How much do you want to focus on the narrative for those characters? Again, 2 or more, but in this example, we can focus on the 4. They will also make threads, decisions that can go to different places, metaphorical places, or literal places. 2 of them can split up. I've done that in my recent campaign. 2 characters split up, 1 splits up into 3. Again, you'll have to track multiple paths, threads, as referred to in Mythic, the GM emulator. You have to track all that. So that's increase note taking, which also becomes a burden. Again, not a negative. This can be the beauty of solo play. This can be rewarding. Don't let any of this discourage you. I may be speaking as if it could discourage you, but this comes from a person who prefers the solo character, the lone wolf. Now, for example, the system I've been recently obsessed with, Fighting Fantasy, this is the bridge between the game books and the eventual RPG following Advanced Fighting Fantasy. But this one really emphasizes group play. But the game books that choose your own style adventure games, they typically have one character. And then there's also the actual lone wolf game books, which are not related to C. Jackson Fighting Fantasy. Those have one character. It's easier to read, to follow along, and to manage. That's why, again, I prefer the lone wolf. I feel like I can devote my time not just to that one character, but to the vast world building, which I have a tendency to enjoy. For the 4 characters, for the group, on top of all their little shenanigans and mechanics, the world building can constrict and then expand at times. It's a bubble that can grow, and then when you focus in on the party, it can go into the background, which is probably fine because you might want that. The world can be the actual party. You may not worry about what's up there in that peak. They might get there eventually, but you're not worried about that right now. You might have an idea what could be up there, a dragon or a temple or a castle or an evil wizard, but you're focused on the actual group. This also relates to my earlier video about micro and macro play. Micro play, you're focused on the nitty gritty, you're zoomed in, you're zoom and enhance on a specific isolated moment. Macro play, you zoom out. You approach the game more broad, more generic. Things are simplified. You're not focused on very specific things. You are just kind of in that SimCity isometric view where you are kind of skipping through time, watching things progress. That's where it can kind of juggle between lone wolf and group play. Now, group play is a element of level 0 characters. I don't think it would be feasible to approach a solo session with one level 0 character. It really depends on the bombardment of challenges at them. You perhaps could roleplay, depending on the game rules, roleplay just a lonely merchant who eventually does get stronger or more formidable in adventuring, if that's where they go, or you will focus on them actually being a merchant. Again, depends on the game rules, depends on the world. But for the conventional dungeon crawler or hex crawl, level 0 character may not last too long. I'm sure there'll be people out there who can rebuff that. Who can rebuff that. But again, for level 0 characters, typically you would have 4 or more level 0 commoners, townsfolk, everyday people, which Dungeon Crawl Classics, which regrettably I've not talked at all much about. But yeah, that's the real strength of Dungeon Crawl Classics, DCC. You have a assortment of level 0 characters who are put through a metaphorical meat grinder, a dungeon crawl, or anything like that, and one or so eventually survive, becoming your eventual level 1 character. That's where group play can make a lot of sense. But level 0 play is not for everybody, and I've seen that evidence in my recent video about level 0 characters. They're not pushback, but there are some opinions and some very good opinions about it. So not everyone likes the level 0 concept, but they would stick with the level 1 or even level 3 start, where you want your character to survive and grow. That was some of the pushback on level 0 characters. You don't want to see them die or lose. You want to see them survive. So you may grow attached to a group of level 0 characters. So you may cheat death in some situations. You don't want them to be level 0 characters anymore. You really get invested into their progress, which makes total sense. And actually, when I made that video, I didn't really think about that, where it's like, I don't recall if I talked about that or mentioned it, but I never really put much thought into it, where you become you are literally a part of the adventure, the growth of these characters. And with level 0 characters, I wouldn't say it's a niche method of play. Perhaps I'll let you guys decide on that, but it's a method of play essentially. But you lose that ability to grow with them if they just die off. That gardener's gone, or that grave digger is gone also. So stuff like that. But with that aside, with level 0 topic aside, I want to say, for me, I prefer, much like how I talked about preferring not using magic for the most part in my videos, because I feel like I'm not good at magic in my videos. Not card magic. I say that like I'm trying to do card tricks or teaching how to do like a sleight of hand, but like actual role-playing magic. I just want to mention that in case someone stumbles on my videos. I have no idea what I'm doing here. But like, again, there's preferences in solo play, and at the end of the day, it is your preference and whatever you prefer. So if you don't want to have a group of player characters, just go with one. Go with the lone wolf. If it's your first time making that decision, if you're used to group play, with not with others by yourself, but with group characters, then stick with what you're comfortable with. If it's becoming a burden or it's a hassle, it's taken away from the experience of tracking all those threads in those characters, then jump to go to lone wolf concept. The downside to lone wolf is it might get slow, but it really depends on the settings exaggeration. If you can really throw a lot of challenges, which you can certainly do, then that will keep things adrift, or that will keep things lifted for you in terms of entertainment value. So, as always, I'm really curious to hear your thoughts on this topic. I think it's a very important topic when you're about to start your solo RPG session. It is as important as what game you're using or what setting you'll be in. I think it's definitely a trifecta of importance. So that's really it. Hope you all enjoyed. And as always, till next time, thanks for watching.